Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So I am excited to give you yet another tournament report from the US Challenger Cup Series. I did in fact end up making top four yet again. I really want that Rescue Rabbit. It's twice now I've been one match away from winning it. But you know, at the time I'm recording this, I still have another Challenger Cup later today, and there's one next week as well. So we do still have a couple more opportunities. But I'm just excited that I actually did manage to top a third one. My goal was to top at least 3 of them, so I did meet that goal at the very least. Not to my own horn or anything, but I've been kind of proud of my own performance this Challenger Cup season. Out of the 9 tournaments so far, we've had 3 tops, 4 bubbles, and only 2 drops. So I think that both Snake Eye and my own play have both been proving to be fairly consistent, which again I'm pretty pleased with. So I'm not really going to divulge too much into the build, actually too much. Said it twice there, because we are actually running the exact same list that we got top 4 last time with, a couple weeks ago, right? It's literally the same 40 cards and the same 15 card extra deck. I have not made any changes whatsoever. Not that I didn't think about it, though. I did come extremely close, like, as in I changed it, like, I think 30 minutes or so before the tournament started. I almost actually played, well, I was going to search for it, but I know if you type it, you get a million things. So let me just go here. Where is it? Yeah, 1 for 1. I almost played 1 for 1 as a 41st card. The main reason I honestly took it out at the last minute was simply that I don't like odd numbered decks. It just wigs me out a little bit. It's not a real, like, logical reason, but that is the reason why I ultimately ended up taking it out. I don't think that 1 for 1 would be bad as a 41st card because, like, yeah, you are very slightly bringing down the consistency of your deck going from 41 to 40, but we are including a consistency boosting card in the form of 1 for 1. One thing about 1 for 1 that I haven't really acknowledged as much in the past that my teammate Foxy Laloon and very good friend Foxy Laloon pointed out is that 1 for 1 does also give you, it's a good extender, namely it can give you access to your synchro plays in certain situations where you might not normally have them. So that is an additional reason to play 1 for 1 beyond just grabbing Snake Eye Ash, right, if you didn't open it. So that is, I think, a pretty decently compelling reason to play it. And again, I came very close to doing it, but again, just very last minute, ultimately decided to pivot back to the same build, which again is 1 card difference, right? So even with the new selection packs bringing in more Rescue Ace and of course the Purrely support, I still didn't really feel the need to change up the list. One thing I did think about, and I've already had people in the Discord ask about, and I might have people in the comments asking about too, is are you going to start playing Kurikara now that Purrely is a thing? The answer is no. So the new lines that Purrely does, as we illustrated in our deck profile, and as I'm sure you've seen, right, end on a 4 material noir. So in my opinion, Purrely is not any more of a threat than it was before. We also already have Goddess in the deck to deal with, Towers monsters if they do summon a big noir. Droll Lock is very nice for helping stop, even get them to that point. In addition to, of course, anything like Failers and Imperms and Sea and Ash, and we'll see actually much less so than Dino cards. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think Kurikara is bad in this deck, mind you. Like, Kurikara is still incredibly close to making the cut in a list like this. I just don't think that Purrely is enough of a reason to play Kurikara if you weren't already. But I don't think Kurikara is bad. It's one of those, it's like 1 for 1 in a lot of ways, right? Where if I was willing to go above 40, even only as far as like 43 or 4, Kurikara would probably be one of the cards I put in. But yeah, just wanted to keep the list down to 40 if at all possible. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really have too much to say, I guess, about the list itself, because, again, this is the same list we were rocking before. So I'm going to try to keep this not an hour long, if at all possible, because we do actually have 10 duels to watch. We're going to go through, once again, not only every Swiss round, but our Top Cut rounds as well. So let's just start here from the bottom and go straight into it, right? Looks like our first opponent was on Branded, rocking a 60-card list, and a relatively standard-looking one at that. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? That's definitely my philosophy when bringing my Snake Eye list into the tournament here. And as always, because we have a lot of duels to cover, and something I've been trying to do a little bit less of in general lately is not pausing the game for like a million years while I talk about stuff. So we did manage to win the coin flip here. I'm going to lead with the Wanted. Opponent's going to max C in response to the Wanted, but we opened not one but two Ash Blossoms, so we're looking pretty good here. I mean, yeah, we have Wanted, we have Bonfire, we have Ash and Imperm. This is definitely a very ideal hand. Like going first or second, I would be pretty satisfied opening this hand. And as always ever, that is the goal with this specific build and the ratios. I think having the ratio set up in such a way where you can ideally open multiple disruptions in every single opening hand is ideal. And I do count like Triple Attack and Subversion as like disruption type cards, even though they might not necessarily be hand trap. Some people call it off engine. I think off engine also encompasses call by and crossout, which I don't consider to be as much disruption, but yeah. I'm just doing a pretty standard turn one line here, except I do actually kind of screw this up. You're supposed to, because like here I'm going to make the bore load, and what you're supposed to do to go into formula for Baron here is activate Snake Eye Ash and send it with Flamberge, right? But I think what I ended up doing is I activated and I sent, yeah, Poplar. I just wasn't thinking, you know. I mean, that'll happen sometimes in tournaments. Like, granted, round one is a hell of a time to already be getting a little bit distracted, but, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna happen sometimes in tournaments, right? You're gonna, like, you know, misclick, or I think I do actually have a misclick at some point in the tournament, too. But you're gonna misclick, or forget to do something, and, you know, just keeping your head in the game when something like that happens, and not letting it throw you off from, you know, winning the duel, is I think something that's very important, because I did have a moment here during this game where I was like, dang it, I messed up the line, I'm not supposed to be doing it this way, and I'm just gonna end on, like, Amble Whale instead of Baron, this is so bad, but it's like, you know what? We're still looking really good, obviously. We got our turn one combo line off uninterrupted. Well, relatively uninterrupted. They did have a C, we had an Ash Blossom though, so. And it's like, you know, yeah, sure, we have Amble Whale instead of Formula, which is obviously not nearly as good, but it's definitely still not bad, right? So, opponent's going to draw phase Brandon High Spirits. I'm just going to shotgun the Flamberge now. If they have Thrust, right, I know some Brandon builds are on that. I definitely don't want to proc that during the main phase if I can avoid it, so. Looks like they're going to end up adding Cartesia off the brand in High Spirits there. They're going to start by specialing the Cartesia. I'm going to use this opportunity to summon out my Flamberge off the Divine Temple here. Normal summoning Quem. I actually decided to try to Imperm Quem here. Not even because I wanted to negate the effects, but yeah, I wanted to just force this Cartesia already, right? Because what that means is now I can activate the IP Masquerada, and I can use Cartesia as a link material, forcing them to fuse with something in their hand that they might not want to. This is a form of disruption I like utilizing this branded a lot, where if you have the IP on the field and they're trying to fuse with something on the field, you can use that as a link material. Sometimes, it obviously depends on the fusion effect, and then sometimes you can either fizzle the effect out or make them fuse for something they might not have wanted to. Yeah, I'm going to use Goddess here. It's going to force them to Critus attack drop now, which is fine either way. It's like Goddess won't be affected by Boreload is really the only thing that's going to get affected by it, and I'm not worried about Boreload here. Flamberge got sent to make the Goddess, of course, so we'll proc both the Ash and the Oak. Oak will bring back the Poplar. Ash will add another follow-up copy of Ash. This is the reason, well, actually one of the main reasons why I like having Great Card Divine Incarnate is if you're in situations where you have the OSS in the graveyard, you have this search off of Snake Eye Ash, sometimes grabbing Kurikari is like the best thing you could be doing with it, like in this case here, but it's like a very minor reason to actually play the card in your deck. Yeah, their last card is a Deer Servant, so I'm just going to negate it with my 0-attack Boreload. At this point, they don't really have anything they can do. They can run over my Boreload, deal 25. I'll definitely win them the Crackback. They can run Boreload into my Goddess to summon Albaz from deck. That doesn't do anything. They have no cards in hand, so that's just going to be a win for me at that point. Okay, so Purrely. Purrely is actually going to be our next opponent here. Oh, this is like almost exactly the same build I ran. That's wild. No, hang on. Don't let you copy. No, not this game. Okay, let's go into our game against Purrely. I do remember that we lose the coin flip here, so going second, I mean, this is the exact kind of situation I was talking about in the profile, right? Where, like, yeah, I'm up against Purrely, and yeah, I lost the coin flip, and yeah, I only have one piece of disruption, but I don't feel like I need Great Card to win here, so they're going to normal summon the Purrely. I'm absolutely going to imperm that. to not only stop the search, but also the later effect to, you know, summon using a quick way spell in the yard. They do end up having the My Friend anyway, which is like, yeah, you know, it's fine, whatever. Revealing Delicious, Sleepy, and Sleepy. It's pretty average. They end up getting a Sleepy, which they'll use to pitch their triple attack for a regular Purrely. Regular Purrely is going to end up picking up this copy of Happy, if I recall correctly. Yep. Also, very glad to see them pitch that triple attack. Very glad I had Imperm but not Veiler here as well. Okay, Purrely is going to reveal the other Sleepy Memory in hand. This lets him go for the Purrely Noir. And Happy Memory will then attach to Noir as an additional material. But that's all the materials they're going to be able to get onto it. And like I said, that's going to be a format Noir. So I'm not really super concerned about that. I mean, it's like I said before. I don't think Purrely is any more of a threat than it was before. Here they did try to pick up another quick way spell. And if they had picked up one more, or if they had the field spell, then we might be in like a little bit of trouble here. But I'm not really concerned about it, honestly. Ensemble Robin might be a little bit annoying, but I think, again, it'll be fine. So, Purrely Noir is going to draw during the standby phase because of Sleepy's effect. Of course, during the standby phase, they're also going to yeet into the big Noir, the Purrely Noir, right? And then they get another draw. And that other draw is pretty good. It's Max C, but we do also have the Call By in our hand. You'll also notice that I waited until main phase to activate Wanted here. That's because I have triple attack in hand. Draw phase Wanted is usually correct, but not always. Especially if you have triple attack, then main phase Wanted does tend to be a lot better. So I'm of course going to Call By away their Max C, and now I'm definitely going to triple attack and threaten to steal a monster. So the opponent's going to use up all of their Purrely Noir's materials now, which does make sense, but then that means I can just take Ensemble Robin, and now I don't have any disruption that I have to play through, right? If my opponent had not used up the Noir's materials, I would have taken the Noir, because again, remember, it's only 4 materials, and thus it can be affected by my card effects. And then I would have just, you know, detached and picked apart their board before I started summoning, right? So, Ensemble Robin does have the ability to bounce monsters when they're special summoned, so definitely had to get rid of that first. I got a Diabel for the OSS. I'll just use the OSS to get rid of the Robin here. Not have to worry about, like, if my opponent, or if I don't kill my opponent, having to give it back to them or something. Anyway, Ash for Poplar, Poplar for the field spell, and then for Flamberge, and then I mean, at this point, I'm comboing uninterrupted, so I'm already not particularly, yeah, it's again, like I said earlier, the new lines from Purrely make the deck a lot more consistent, but not necessarily more powerful. So even though, again, they can do the Noir more often, it's also easier to out than the little Noir, or the Noir with few materials is easier to out than the Noir with big materials. I realize I can't say little Noir because that's its own monster now. So, but yeah. I'm making a Borload here just to be safe. I mean, there's really no reason for me to do it, but I still have my normal summon, so I can just normal summon Poplar and very easily have enough damage for lethal. Alright, so yeah, again, going second against Purrely, we had disruption. It wasn't enough to stop their plays, but, you know, we ended up winning all the same. Alright, now here is going to be my loss during Swiss. It actually came during round 3. It was against Dinos. There were a lot of dinosaur decks, not just in general, but at the top tables in this tournament. Lars, people coming out in force for that Lars. Dino also just being a very solid deck in its own right. We're going first here, although as you can see, we did not open much in the way of gas. Yeah, Oak, Jet Synchron, Ash Nib, Ash Blossom, Nib, and Call By. Not going to be enough for plays. I'm just going to make the Linkriva with the Jet Synchron, hope to live through my opponent's turn, and then try to bring back Jet Synchron and use it with Oak if I don't top deck anything for plays here. So, they're going to Pank the back row. I'm just going to Call By it. When I saw Pank, I was like, Pank or tops? My first thought was like 8 axis. But no, Dinos definitely makes more sense, right? So, okay, they're going to Fossil Dig. I'm going to let that go with the Ash Blossom. I'm not going to use it here. The Prosperity, on the other hand, this I am going to Ash Blossom. So the reason I chose to Ash this, not the Fossil Dig, is the Fossil Dig is once per turn. They have Gamma here anyway. And the Pros will let them find very specifically either the combo piece they need, or if they already have all the combo pieces they need, something like Call By or Cross Out. Either way, you don't want to deal with it. Gamma was probably the absolute worst case scenario for me here. They not only negate the Ash Blossom, they get multiple bodies on the board. Not only that, but then they were also on the Omega. So they're going to make the Cyframe Lord Omega, and they actually did hand rip the nib. It was so brutal. Granted, I don't think the nib would have helped me here anyway, because of the Mystiolinosaurus, right? Making the dinos on the field unaffected by card effects, and by the time they start going into their end board that doesn't have dinosaurs on it, they have Evolzar Dolka up, which can negate and destroy monster effects, so... Yeah, it was, not the most amount of luck I've ever had, but you know, this is something that's gonna happen at tournaments too. It's like, sometimes you'll just get unlucky, and especially in a best of one, like, tournament, or in best of one in general, it can feel like luck matters a lot more than it does. Like, yeah, luck was a huge factor into why I'm not winning this game, but I don't know, I see so many players, like, dwelling on luck as a factor, like either calling it a coin flip, like, I don't know, just I've seen the phrase, we'll say on like the subreddit, right, coin flip simulator, and it's like, it's so untrue, right? It's just not true at all. If Master Duel, if Best of One really came down to RNG and nothing else at all, it would be totally random who does well in tournaments, or who is able to consistently get up to Master or Master 1, but that's simply not true, right? It's the same people doing it consistently. So, I don't know, it's just disingenuous, right, to say that it all comes down to luck. It's just not true. And I just think there are a lot of people out there who prefer to focus on what they can't control, as opposed to what they can control. But I think if your goal is to improve and do better in both tournaments and ranked ladder, then you need to just remove luck as a factor from your mind. Any factor you can't control is not worth spending a significant amount of time thinking about. If your goal is to improve at the game. If that's not your goal, then, you know, I mean, either way, far be it for me to tell you what to do, but if it's not your goal to get better, then yeah, sure, I mean, whatever. I guess spend your time however you want, but if you do want to get better at Yu-Gi-Oh, then there are efficient and inefficient ways to spend your time doing so. It's just a simple matter of, like, the time you are spending thinking about it. Grr, I got so unlucky. Grr, my opponents are always lucky. It's like you're not thinking about improving at the game. It's just simple as that. So, I mean, yeah, again, this happened here, but definitely not a run ruiner. I also see a lot of people in these cups, like, dropping as soon as they get their first loss. Like, even in the 128 5-round person tournaments, X1s will still top. So, okay, so this opponent was on Hero. Let's go ahead and take a look at this game here. Take a sip of water here while I'm at it. Okay, this hand's like not ideal, opening both Flamberges, but you know, we'll take it. Gonna want to draw phase, another opponent who's shotgunning Max C. I guess I kind of understand why people are doing this. They want to get the draw off of the Diabell. But I want to say something here. Oh shit, I said I wouldn't pause, but I don't know. I don't think my opponent needed to necessarily do this. They could have, like, Max-C'd in response to the Poplar F and, like, gotten me way more into the line and used more of my resources. But anyway, so I'm going to imperm my opponent's normal summon Vion, and I'm going to hope they don't have any more follow-up. But even if they do, I have the C, right? Alright, so opponent activates Polymerization. I'm going to shade Max C here. And let's see, it'll resolve, yep, Max C resolves Polymerization for the Sunrise, and then Sunrise is going to add, of course, and then the Liquid Soldier will draw 2, discard 1. Sunrise will also add the Miracle Fusion, and I'm going to do something here in a moment that I said I wasn't going to do earlier, but it is for a reason. So at this point, right, I'm going to pause here for a second. I know I said I wouldn't do that, but I want to talk about something that happened here. So, at this point, and I don't want to say anything against my opponent. I understand that a lot of the times, especially when you're in a stressful game state, like when you get Max Seed, in a stressful situation, like when you're X1 in a Challenger Cup, it can take a bit to think. But after I resolved Max C, my opponent sat for, like, I'm not even exaggerating, on the clock, almost 2 minutes without doing anything. I think there are a lot of players, especially those who aren't as experienced in tournaments, who would just, like, kind of let that happen and not say anything. But one thing that's really important to do in tournaments, especially in a situation like this, is to make sure that you're, just standing up for yourself in that regard. And I'm not even saying that my opponent was doing, like, anything wrong intentionally. But, because I've had that moment where I think for a long time at a tournament and my opponent has to tell me, like, hey, hurry up. And that's what I ended up doing, right? I ended up, like, just going to the Discord, tagging my opponent in the dispute section saying, hey, you've been sitting for almost 2 minutes without an action. Can you please play more quickly? It's definitely better to nip that in the bud earlier, too, because you don't want to lose to time, and then after the result is already submitted, be like, well, you slow played, right? This is an aspect of tournament play that I haven't talked about much. I don't think it's talked about a lot, but it is something that's very important. Again, even if you don't feel like, because, like, me bringing up, like, hey, you need to play more quickly, again, I'm not accusing my opponent of doing anything, right? I'm simply stating facts that, they've been sitting with 2 minutes without an action, they need to play more quickly. Because there's 20-minute rounds, 2 minutes is 10% of our total time. That's too much to be eating to think, frankly. So, and again, I don't mean that in a rude way, I just mean that in a factual way, so. Again, if you find yourself in that situation, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. And again, it doesn't have to be saying that your opponent is doing anything wrong, because they're very likely not, and I don't even think my opponent was. Again, I remember playing in a Workless Championship series where I did the same thing. I sat for like a minute and a half just thinking about my plays, not even realizing, right? Like, not even realizing I was taking that long until my opponent messaged me and was like, hey, you need to make a play, please. And I was like, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, you're right. And I think any reasonable, level-headed person would respond the same way to that request of, like, just continuing to play. Like my opponent here, again, very, very, very reasonable person. Just after I asked, they, continue to play. So that's really what it comes down to. Anyway, I don't think my opponent had lethal here. I think this is 7k, right? But I in the moment, I was like, I don't want to do math. I'm just going to imperm the Wake Up Your Elemental Hero. Also wanted to leave myself with as many life points as possible in case this did come down to time, right? Because again, time is a very real factor, and I wasn't trying to lose a round because I ran out of time because we lost 2 minutes with my opponent taking no action whatsoever, right? And again, standing up for yourself and being mean are two different things. I was definitely doing the former, no intention at all of doing the latter. I don't know, I feel like I've repeated that point like a million times, but I think it's an important point that's worth repeating, and it's an aspect of tournament play that not everybody talks about, right? The kind of like social aspect. Of course, the playing aspects are like, the most important part, but yeah, that kind of like social aspect too definitely comes up, even in play like it did here, so. Like, one thing I'll do, just to like kind of keep the gameplay going if I'm like sitting here thinking, is like, you can just start by making the plays you want to make, right? Like, if I had a hand like this and I'm thinking about my turn, I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm going to bonfire first, so while I'm thinking, let me bonfire and start searching stuff. Anyway, here, I want to Nightmare Phoenix and force the favorite contact right now by pitching the Flamberge. I can cycle the C and get another draw. I know that the Shining Neos is going to pop cards on my field when it's summoned, so I want to do it while I have fewer cards that I care about being popped in general, right? Also, by discarding the Flamberge for Nightmare Phoenix, I will proc its effect. So there is that too. So yeah, Shining Neo Swingman does get to pop, I believe, three cards on the field, actually, yep. Including my Temple and my Nightmare Phoenix, so gonna get back Snake Eye Ash and Jet Synchron. Pulling out the Oak from my deck. I still actually have not used Oak at all yet, so that'll get me another body. Now I'm going to send a Jet Synchron for Link Creebo. That way I have a Dark monster in the field and can make Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy to grab a monster from my opponent's yard and keep extending, right? And keep just making sure that I have all the bodies that I need. Alright, so here's the Promethean Princess. Gonna activate her effect to bring back my Flamberge from the yard. I can use Subversion to push back one of the fusions. I can use Flamberge to push back the other. I think at this point I already have Lethal on board, right? Oh, no, I need one more body. But I think I haven't... No, oh, no, I have Jet Synchron. That's the extra body. Yeah, I can just enter battle phase here. I don't even need to make any more plays. Like, once I have enough damage on board, I know my opponent doesn't have any more resources. I'm just going for it, so... And there we have it. I think we did end this round with like 4 minutes on the timer still. You definitely gotta watch the timer. I definitely try to play, like, I don't try to rush myself, but like, this is why playing with a deck you're comfortable with, one of the reasons why it's so important, is that you can make the plays more quickly, more naturally, and then you don't have to spend the time thinking about it, which could end up costing you a match in the long run, right? So, alright, final round of Swiss was against a very blinged out dinosaur deck. Holy cow. Is that a playset of Royal Mists? That is. Well, they definitely farmed for those. That's pretty good. Yeah, let's go ahead and pop in here. Like I said, dinosaurs were out in force today, not just in general, but at the top tables too. Alright, so we are taking the second turn. Definitely got a very good going second hand here with the Valor and the Sea. Again, I love opening multiple pieces of disruption here, so gonna add the Baby Sarah off the Fossil Dino. Misk getting discarded. Misk Graveyard effect will then activate. Of course, we will max C in response. And doesn't look like they have a answer, so yeah, we're looking pretty good here. Now, I was a little surprised, but I'll be less so later, now that once we see their board. But they're gonna take the Maxi challenge. They're just going for it here. I've actually heard that this is something that Dinosaur does, right? That Dinosaur's a deck that's actually capable of taking the Maxi challenge because their end board can actually put up enough disruption to reasonably fend off like everything your opponent will do, even with like a 15-20 card hand, right? So, I'm hoping and praying for my Nibiru. Even though they used Misk and will end on Dolka, right? Again, the Michelinosaurus, this card here. This will prevent their dinosaurs on the field from being affected by activated card effects during that phase. And then Dolka, as I said earlier, this will prevent this will allow them to negate and destroy monster effects. But if I can imperm a Nib, well, they have the Elf too now, right? So we got to get rid of the target protection, which we do actually manage to hit here with the Valor. So, but if I can manage to top deck Nib, I can imperm the Dolka and Nib them. Here's Lars as well, good old Lars. One more summon to find it, but spoiler alert, we're not going to end up finding the Nib. We're going to have to play through this the old-fashioned way, which is just with a lot of cards. So I'm going to leave the Subversion on the Conductor just to not have to deal with it. Imperming the Elf as well. Opponent's going to Maxi, and I call by the Sea, and here's the misplay that cost them the game. They did not chain Elf's effect to bring back the Sea. I was extremely relieved when I saw this. I was like, oh my god, okay, we're gonna win. Like, because before, when I saw that Maxi go in the yard, I was like, oh no. Because I've played enough Sprite to know about Elf helping C dodge the call by, but I don't think my opponent knew about it here. Thankfully for me, oh my god. So they do get to negate my triple attack with the Lars effect. I'm going to use the Wanted as well here just to get it out of my hand, right? Definitely want to pitch Jet Synchron with the Diabell just to get it in the yard and, you know, as a body. I'm going to activate Diabell. Here's the first Dolka activation. So 2 more disrupts to play through. 1 more Lars effect, 1 more Dolka effect. Dolka is actually ridiculous. I think all the evils are like this too, where they're not once per chain. Like, not even once per turn, they're not once per chain either. Yeah, so here's the second Dolka effect. So that one's taken care of. Now we only have 1 more negate to play through. Our hand size is dwindling though. Like, as you can see, we're kind of running out of stuff to do here. I'm gonna Bonfire for Poplar, but it's like, it's kind of coming down to the wire here. Like, you know, I thought when my opponent took the Maxi Challenge at first that I'd just be totally fine. But it's gonna take like all of my resources here to be able to answer this. But yeah, I'm gonna send the Flambridge off the original sin, because so now it doesn't even matter if they negate the original sin, which they do, because Flambridge will still proc. Yep. And then I can bring back Ash and Jet Synchron. And I have enough bodies to make plays now, I think, easily. Because have I even used... No, I haven't even used Ash's second effect. Oh, yeah, we're so good. Are you kidding me? I get to send the Flambridge off, Oak for the Ash. That'll be another body, right? Yeah, we're definitely good here. I think I'm going to end up going for an access code OTK here, if I recall correctly. Yes, because they have plenty of fires in the yard for me to take with Hita. And I can use those two to make the Celine. And yeah, like I said, we're just going to go for an access code OTK. I haven't even used Oak's second effect. I could actually, if I really wanted to, summon out the other Flambridge from my deck and win with that, but once we access code and clear up their board, we'll have enough damage on board to end the game anyway. And again, we definitely, yeah, we're good here. I'm just so glad they didn't bring back that Maxi with the elf. Unless I didn't negate it earlier, did I? I'm pretty sure I didn't. Like, they could have. I did that during the main phase. Well, that's what I should have done. I should have done it during like this draw or standby. Use the imperm on whatever negate I had. I don't remember. Whatever negate I had on the elf. I should have, if I had the ability to, I should have done it not during the main phase. If I was thinking about it. But anyway. That also is me thinking about them having exactly Maxi, which I probably should have considered in either case. But also in either case, we did manage to end up winning there. So, yay! And again, as I said before, a lot of people just concede as soon as they lose one game, especially if it's in like the first 3 rounds. But my round 3 opponent ended up going undefeated, which actually placed me at 5th place, so well into top 8. So yeah, my recommendation is definitely try to stick it out if you can. Don't necessarily drop just because you lose one duel there. All right, let's take a look at our top 8 match here. Game 1. For top 8, we played against Unchained. Let's take a look at game 1 here for that. I think this is the first time I've played against Unchained, like, at all on one of the Challenger Cups. So, it's kind of interesting for the first... And not my first time playing against them in general, but... First time playing against them in the Cup, and it was in top 8. Going first with a, textbook, beautiful going first hand, right? Opponent does have a couple of really scary hand traps, so we can actually play through this here. I'm going to Snake Eye Ash for the Poplar. Poplar F is going to add... Or is going to summon itself, of course, upon adding. Here they're going to use the Max C. I have my Ash Blossom, so there you go. And yeah, we're just going to summon the Poplar to our field. And once we do that, we'll definitely be adding the Divine Temple here, because we already have the OSS in hand. I mean, I'd probably just grab Divine Temple here either way, but... Set up the Oak, Ash F, sack the Oak. Here is their Ash Blossom. Which again would be a lot more of an issue if I didn't already have the OSS in hand. It is a little awkward that I set up Oak, because normally I would just OSS for Oak, but we're not able to do that here because it's already in the graveyard. So what I'm going to have to do here is activate Original Sin. I'm going to send a Poplar for Jet Synchron. Now I can link off Jet Synchron and link Kribo for Hita. Now, because my opponent has used the Ash Blossom, I can activate Hita's effect to bring back the Ash Blossom, sack both of them, and now, or link both of them off, rather, for the Promethean Princess, Flambridge, right? Now what I can do is I can activate the Flambridge F to bring back the Oak that's in my yard. Now, Oak's effect can bring back the Jet Synchron, and then from here I still have Oak's second effect. I'm actually going to sack off the Promethean Princess, so that way once Flambridge hits the field, I can make the IP Masquerena. Because again, of course, still as ever, you can only summon fires while Promethean Princess is in play, so... Now that'll trigger Flambridge's effect. But I have to kind of pass here with the IP up, because I can't exactly... Well, I could pivot into Ambler Whale, but I've already used my Princess effects, so, and I've already summoned her, so I can't go into that part of the combo line. Maybe there was something a little bit better I could have done here, but I decided to just go into either Apo or Underworld Goddess, just depending on the situation, right, with the IP here. Just be flexible. We also have Maxi, so that's another reason why I'm not, like, the most worried in the world about what my opponent's doing here. Well, I am a little concerned, right? I shouldn't say I'm not the most worried, but at the same time, I kind of recognize, based on the resources they have, they probably weren't going to be able to lethal me. Especially after I go for the Underworld Goddess using their Aruha as a material. That's gonna... Now they can't pop that, so that's another card that... another extension they're denied. And we now have the Goddess up as well, which can't be destroyed. And, yeah, it's not really much they can do here. They could have battled, they could have, like, collided, but they want to keep the escape online, looks like. Rather weird hand of 3 Diabell here, but it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I'm just going to OSS for the Snake Eye Ash, and then I can draw off the Wanted here. Putting back the OSS to draw an Imperm, sure. Going to normal summon Snake Eye Ash. My plan was to bait out whatever back row they had, and then send Diabell, or send Flamberge off of Diabell. But I think I actually, yeah, I ended up pitching Diabell off of Diabell instead, just because it was like, they weren't doing anything, and I was like, I don't know, I kind of figured, like, what, they probably can't do much besides maybe Imperm Callby or, like, pop one of my cards, so I figured I was probably in the clear. And again, much like, I think round 1, I think I did this, or round 2, I think it was. I'm just going to make Borload here just to be safe. And sure enough, here is the Escape of the Unchained. But literally doesn't matter anymore because I have big Link monsters in my yard. I can just pick up the Hita and then battle my opponent with what I have on board. Actually, yeah, pretty much exactly how I ended that other game, too. But I summoned a Borload in, which I think actually was round 2. Anyway. So that was game 1 of top 8 there. Game 2, I think they stayed on the same deck. Did they put in those Drolls? I'm trying to see if they did a significant amount of siding. No, the Drolls were already in there. 43, 42. Okay, so they did change the total number of cards. Oh, the anti-spell fragrances, I see. Yeah, that is the thing about the Challenger Cup, for those who are not aware. Actually, I don't think my opponent was aware, because I swapped over to Kashira. You can actually do that. You don't even have to use the same deck or the same build. It's kind of funny, my opponent didn't know you could do that, but ended on the different number of total cards in the main deck. If they were going by traditional side decking rules, that actually isn't allowed, but yeah, that's pretty brutal for my opponent. They chose to go first and did not open particularly well. I, on the other hand, opened a ton of gas for a Kashira hand, which in exactly this situation I'm not displeased about. They're going to try to Maxi. I'm going to Gamma it, but they do end up using the Ash on the Gamma. So knowing how dead their hand already is, based on the fact they didn't do anything on turn 1, I'm really not trying to give my opponent any draws in this situation. Although I definitely wish I had more hand traps too. Anyway, Pross is going to reveal Imperm, Mourner, Driver, well, Shifter, and Imperm. I'm just going to pick up an Imperm here. It's not only a Disrupt, but I can also use it against one of the back rows potentially as well. I'm going to normal summon Pathfinder and battle with it before grabbing the field spell. And I'm just going to say Imperm and pass, because I still have the Gamma in hand too. I don't want to give them any draws if their hand is already not great, but they did top deck it in answer anyway, in the form of Sharvara. I should just Imperm the Sharvara. Well, here's the thing, I didn't want to I didn't want to Gamma the Sharvara, because then they could set the normal spell and then add an Unchained monster and then just do their plays anyway. I tried to look for a better opportunity to use the Gamma, but I'm not really going to get one, because ideally I would like to use it against the Yama, but they're going to chain block, right? Yama, Chain Link 1, Sharvara, Chain Link 2. The other awkward thing about Gamma, and I maybe should have considered this more in this matchup, but the other awkward thing about Gamma is that it negates and destroys, which is kind of what you don't want a lot of the time to happen to Unchained monsters, funnily enough, so. Alright, this is going to be the DDD, right? Yes, Wave High King Caesar. Normal summon the Aruha, linking it off with the Yama for the Link 2, right? The Dowgie. The Dowgie. Well, there's lots of Dowgies. The Link 2 Blue Dowgie. Alright, Rage and Caesar are going to... So this is also kind of one of the reasons why I'm a little bit on Unchained in tournaments. It's like, it doesn't seem like it has a lot of finishing ability, right? Like, even when you're in a situation like my opponent was, where you're... like, your opponent isn't really doing much of anything. It seemed like they were able. It seemed like they're able to do like a lot. Again with the chain blocking, so unfortunately I'm not able to Gamma the Yama. I will still Gamma the Rage though, to proc the Caesar and get rid of one of its materials, if nothing else, right? I don't know. I feel like maybe I could have used Gamma a little bit better in this duel, but I don't know. I didn't really see a good opportunity to do it on my opponent's last turn there. Mostly because, again, we're playing against Unchained, and destroying their stuff can be a little bit awkward sometimes. Anyway, let's Unicorn for Birth here. They do still have the ability to link with our stuff, yeah, using the Rage, which they'll do now. And I normal summon the Rise Heart. And yeah, they're going to go for Nightmare Unicorn, and that's going to be it. You know, they're going to get rid of my Kashira Unicorn, and then I don't really have any plays left after that. So, at that point, I'm like, yep, you got it. Plus, for matches, you get 45 minutes for the whole time, right? So, Definitely don't want to waste time on a game that I literally know I can't win at all, so... funnily enough, so it was after this game that my opponent asked us, like, wait, can you switch decks between rounds or between, yeah, best of 3, and I was like, yeah, you totally can. So it looks like they decided to switch over to Exo in an attempt to counterpick my Stink Eye, which is not a bad idea at all. But we do get to go first, and my going first Stink Eye build is actually built a little bit differently. One of the main things that I've added to it is a playset of Summon Limit. It's like, if you know you're going to go first, you might as well have a floodgate ready, right? And the cool thing about Summon Limit is that, obviously, you flip this up during your opponent's turn after you've done all of your summoning, ideally off of, like, Flamberge and stuff. But if this is still face up going into your turn, what you can end up doing a lot of the time is just activating Diabell, send the Summon Limit, and then now you can make plays on your turn. So this ends up being a really good going first side deck tool for the Stink Eye deck, or any deck that has Diabell in it, honestly. Just because, again, you can remove the Floodgate yourself. So let's see here. What do they have? They have the Imperm, right, and I'd cross out. I'm only on one Veiler and one Imperm for this build, because, again, it is a going first build. This build does have 1-for-1 as another starter, again, because we're going first. Maxing out on Drolls to play against Maxi. And then again, of course, the Summon Limits as well. So yeah, things are going pretty well for me here. It's a pretty typical turn 1 setup. Got the Oak and the Ash coming back. Oak's going to bring back the Poplar. I can then link off the Poplar for the Link Karibo, so that we can establish that. And then we can go into the Promethean Princess with IP plus Link Karibo, because you don't need to make a... You don't need to use a fire monster to make this card for some reason, because it's not balanced at all. Let's see, Oak and a Poplar are going to get sacked off for the other Flamberge for my deck. And then, of course, we're going to use the Flamberge to put back IP, but the opponent has a DD Crow. I'm not super concerned, though, because I'm like, now I get to triple attack them. And they're going to be on a total of 3 cards going into my Summon Limit and board. So I'm going to put back their Exo monster, leaving them with Sakitama and Callby. At this point, I'm like, I got this. Honestly, I feel like I just have this, right? Here is the Ambler Whale. I'm going to set the Summon Limit. I still have Promethean Princess in the yard as well. They drew another Exo monster for turn. So when that gets summoned, I'm going to use the Divine Temple to bring up my Flamberge Dragon. And when they activate Sakitama, I'm just putting up Summon Limit now. That's it. That's their 2 summons per turn right there. And they have 2 400 attack position monsters to show for it. Or sorry, 1 400 attack position monster to show for it, because Sakitama, being a spirit, will bounce back to their hand during the end phase. Yeah, I don't even need to, like, combo off to win here. I didn't even need to push back their Exo monster with the Flamberge. I have 9,000 damage. I could have just lethaled, or battled for lethal, but... Alright, there was our top 8 match there. GG's Frankymon. Let's take a look at our top 4. Top 4 was against TD Hi, who I've seen, I think, in the Challenger Cup and in other tournaments as well. On Branded, once again, going to be facing off against Branded Despia. Or I guess just Branded. Does the deck even call itself Branded Despia anymore? I think it's just like a Branded deck now. Okay, so we're taking the first move, winning the coin flip yet again. Love to see it. This is a really good going first hand, but it's not a great going second hand, because it's like all gas here plus triple attack and no real disruption at all. Unfortunately, the no disruption part is going to actually end up coming back to bite me. Anyway, I'm going to lead with the Diabell here, and they will end up using the Maxi. So I'm going to triple attack, and look at their hand here. I definitely want to take the Patchwork, because they don't have plays with just what they have in hand so far. So now they're in top deck mode, but unfortunately for me, they end up ripping Foolish Barrel, which is more than enough to make plays, right? They can Foolish send the Tragedy, Tragedy add Aliber, normal Aliber, get Brain Diffusion, and now, like I said, they're off to the races now. I mean, again, this is just gonna happen sometimes, right? Sometimes you just get bad beats, sometimes you get Max Seed, sometimes you hand rip them and put back their only answer for them to top deck another one. Again, this just happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! And again, I see so many people spending their time and energy getting upset about that, which, again, if your goal is not necessarily to improve at Yu-Gi-Oh! and you just want to vent online, like, that's totally fine. I mean, even if you do want to improve at Yu-Gi-Oh, there's nothing wrong with venting, but, like, when you live on r/Master Duel, and you comment 3 times a day about how the game is a coin flip meta, it might not come as a surprise to you. You're not gonna get better at Yu-Gi-Oh! Spending your time doing that. Anyway, they're gonna loot Belly in here, sending away the Albion, setting up the Branded Beast. That way they can take care of my Subversion. Because they know the other face down is wanted, so they don't care about it, which makes sense here, right? They get to Magnum Hut and a Thrust. Yeah, it's like super over for me at this point. Duplication means they get another Branded Fusion on my turn. They have the Drew Swarm on my turn as well. I'll end phase Wanted just to, like, I don't know, feel like I'm able to play cards, feel like I can do something here. But yeah, they have the Branded in red set as well. I'm at least going to see what I top deck before I concede here. And Poplar, while Gas is not really going to be enough to do it, right? Like, yeah, I can roll Poplar for the field spell. Field spell, they're going to use Branded Beast to pop said spell. And I think I actually concede at this point, because, like, they already have Branded in red too. Like, I know they have plays, yeah. Let's just move on to the next game, is my thought. So game 2, I chose to go first here. We're going to hop right into game 2. Again, with the going first Snake Eye build with the summon limits, as well as the 1-for-1. And the Drolls. Oh, you know what? Do I only have 2 Drolls in here? I should have 3. Okay, so here I'm going to end up pitching the Maxi for the Diabell. In hindsight, I probably could have pitched either the Call By or the Crossout. Probably the Crossout, but, like, I don't know. I really wanted both of these. I wanted Crossout actually for Disruption. I actually wanted to use Call By on their turn more than anything else. But, I mean, with that mindset, maybe I should have just gotten rid of the Call By because Maxi is always going to be better Disruption. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sound logic now that I think about it. I mean, that's the other thing, too. Like, when you're... It's the thing that sucks about playing in Top Cuts is that, like, my brain is always fried by the time I get to Top Cut. And I feel like I'm just not... Maybe that's something I need to work on, is just practicing... Not just practicing Top Cut games, but also, like, mental fortitude. So here my opponent's going to use Phantasme. I decided to use Ash Blossom on it. In hindsight, this was definitely a misplay, because I knew I was going against Branded. And, like, I don't know, Phantasme doesn't really do much here now that I actually think about it. In my defense, I kind of panicked a bit. This is literally the first time ever in my life I've had somebody activate Phantasme against me. So I was a little shocked. I gotta be honest with you. When I activated Ash, I didn't even fully remember what the card did. I kind of had a monkey brain moment of, like, they were using something on my turn. I gotta stop it. I gotta stop it. But, like, I really did not need to Ash this at all. Especially because, like, they can just summon this on my turn. Because here's the thing, right? I thought you had to Link Summon to trigger Phantasme. It's just Special Summon a Link. So as soon as I summon IP, it's gonna proc again anyway. It's just such a misplay on my part. Like, such a huge misplay. Yep, there's the Maxi. I'm gonna cross it out, for sure. Holding on to the Call By in case I need to banish something that hits the yard, right? Yep, here's the IP. And again, yeah, my opponent's just gonna Phantasme anyway. So that Ash Blossom was just wasted. It was 100% wasted. It was just not a good move on my part. Alright, Branded Opening is gonna send the Edge of Chain for the Guiding Quem. Here I decided to Call By the Edge of Chain. This I think was fine, just because I didn't know obviously what was in my opponent's hand. And I'm like, I really don't want them to have access to Poly if they don't have it already. Let's just force them to play with what they've got, you know? Unfortunately, what they have is a grass, so... They're gonna mill an Albaz. Grass coming down here. I definitely would have fired off... Well, here's the thing, though. I definitely would have fired off the Ash Blossom here if I still had it in hand. Like, I think even against Branded, I would have Ashed the grass. They could just still normal summon the Aliber they have here and then search Branded Fusion. So, you know, I guess in that regard, my misplay probably wouldn't have changed the outcome of this duel. But I can't say that for certain. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing, right? That doesn't make the play any better, even if it doesn't end up costing me the game. That would be results-oriented thinking, which I think a lot of people do, right? I think a lot of people are like, oh, I won the duel, so every play I made during it was correct, which is definitely not true. you know, when you're evaluating your own plays, it's best to do so from the position of putting yourself in your shoes at the moment. Like, what knowledge did I have in the moment? Okay, so here I'm actually using Princess to bait out the Rindbrum so that way I can IP and go for the Underworld Goddess to take care of this Albaz, right? Because if I link off the Albaz to make Underworld Goddess, then they can't fusion summon because you have to fuse with Albaz on the field. Not only that, but Underworld Goddess will also negate every monster effect on the field, which I actually don't think matters too much in this case, but it's something, you know. Okay, they're going to use Branded Retribution to get back the Branded Fusion, because they actually haven't used Branded Fusion yet this turn. That's right. They milled it off of the grass there. That's the thing about grass and Branded Fusion, which is wild. Like, there's not even really a lot of different things that Branded is necessarily trying to mill. It's just a couple. But if you can just get that Branded Fusion in the yard with either the Retribution or the Albion to send the Retribution, then it's like, that's all you need, right? So, yep, here is the Branded Fusion coming down. Yeah, with the knowledge of what happened in mind, I definitely should have not even ashed the grass, but honestly just waited for the Branded Fusion. But I think, honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, in the moment, I probably would have snapped the ash against the grass. I think a lot of players would have. And with 2 other cards left in hand, I don't even think that's a terrible decision, right? Although, I don't know. You could make an argument either way, I think. I'm going to do a little bit of Link Kuriboh shenanigans that I think is going to save me from dying, like, right away. I'm just going to throw this in fast forward, because, spoiler alert, the game's not going to be too interesting from here on. Yeah. We can just set the Branded in red, pop my stuff with Mirror Jade, do their end phase, their main phase 3 shenanigans. And yeah, Bonfire is definitely not going to be enough to get me there. Like, I can normal summon Snake Eye Ash, sure, and then Poplar. But they have the Rindbrum available as a negate, and there's also that Branded in red too, and the Branded Beast as well. And honestly, with just popping Ash, that's like already enough. I don't have any follow-up after that, so that was the end of top 4 and the end of my tournament run there. But I had a lot of fun. As always as ever, I have a blast playing in these things. And, like, not to toot my own horn here too much, but, like, I'm actually pretty proud of myself for how well I've done in the Challenger Cups so far. I don't know, a lot of the reasons why I like even playing in tournaments is that a lot of the time with the YouTube channel, I have this idea of like, oh, I'm sitting here putting out these deck profiles, giving this advice, like how valid is it? Am I even a good enough player to warrant doing that? You know, the kind of same insecurities that I think a lot of people, well, I don't know about same insecurities, not everybody's like a content creator, but just general insecurities, like the kind of things that a lot of us deal with, right? But, yeah, I don't know, I think that after topping this, like my 3rd Challenger Cup now, I'm finally getting in the mindset where I'm like, yeah, I'm a fucking good player. I'm good at this game. Huge shoutouts, as always ever, to everyone in Das Springens Booty server for helping with the build and testing, and honestly just encouragement. That's really is the most important part to me. It's just yeah, people being cool and nice and telling each other we can do it, and then doing it. Fuck yeah. Anyway, I'm up to almost an hour, which is what I wanted to avoid, but we did also watch 10 duels, so that's pretty much going to do it. Thanks again, everyone, so much for watching. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.